Hi, my name is Gabrielle Burton, and welcome back to my YouTube channel and to my show, Hosting Heaven. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist with 10 years experience in the field, specializing in narcissistic and spiritual abuse. And I am also the author of the book, The Ultimate Guide to Becoming a Gold Digger, Discovering the Hidden Treasures Within, which combines faith and mental health to help you dig deeper in your relationship with God, yourself, and others. You can get your copy in the link below. Today's episode is going to be so beautiful. I am here with a dear friend, lifelong friend, Jessica, and we're just really going to have a wonderful conversation today, really talking about just our faith journeys and also friendship, how important friendship is in different seasons of life, and just how God is so good in meeting us in all those different seasons. And part of how he meets us is through people. So I want you to kind of introduce yourself to the audience and then also how we know each other.
My name is Jessica. I'm a mom of two beautiful boys. I have recently gone through a divorce, experienced some church hurt along the way. Still, working through a lot of those things. But I feel like one constant in my life outside of God has been you. And we have known each other for so long,
Yeah.
13 to 15 years, somewhere in that.
I think about this because did I know you before I was in grad school? Because we knew each other through church.
Yes.
We lived together. We were roommates before you got married. So at least when I was in grad school, I was 25, 24, somewhere around there.
Let's not give away our age.
You're right. I don't mind. There's no shade in like where my age is at. But yeah, I want to say at least 10, 15 years, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's been just such a joy to do life with you. We grew up in the church. We served on the worship team.
Experienced so many different stages of
Yes.
life.
Yeah. Plays and she's a very creative, very, very creative person. Probably one of the most just creative people I know. She used to flip furniture, and then now you
Graduated
into flipping homes. Like very, very talented in that way. A great baker, an amazing singer, a great songwriter. So I mean, she is just a woman who has just so many amazing gifts. But I would say probably one of the best gifts that you have is you're a really good friend.
No.
Yeah.
Same.
Thanks.
I feel like I learned from you.
I don't know. I feel like that's just naturally who you are. Very loving, very nurturing, very kind, very attentive. So anyways, today we're going to get into, you kind of already alluded to just some of your story and your journey. So wherever you want to start and kind of walk through it.
Wow. Okay. So I am a PK. Lived a lot of my life in the church.
Yeah.
It's really fun because I feel like I got to grow with my dad and my stepmom as I matured through the church. So when we were kids, my parents were the children's pastors,
Well, yeah.
which was I think my favorite position that they've ever held because they were such phenomenal children's pastors.
Aww.
When we became teenagers, they transitioned into being youth pastors after and that's when we made it out this way. We moved to St. George, Utah.
Okay.
And then became an adult, and my dad eventually transitioned into a senior pastor. So
Wow. Yeah.
he's kind of like, I've been able to like grow with him. It's been a really cool experience.
Yeah.
And then kind of been in church a lot, and I feel like that has been really a defining formative time for me. Like I feel like a lot of my identity was wrapped up in church, what I was able to bring to those relationships, and those are really the relationships that I really fostered. And I won't say that I fostered them perfectly. I think life happens, you have kids, you get busy, and sometimes those friendships kind of fall away. Sometimes they, it's hard to always make time.
Yeah.
And I'll say the same thing happened with you and I, unfortunately, and I could have done a better job at making time in my schedule. But I ended up going through a divorce almost 2 years ago, I want to say. I think it was finalized about a year and a half ago, but separated for a little bit longer than that. And I really ended up losing lost a lot of friendships. I will say that before the divorce, I did start to kind of pull away myself. And
From
so,
the church
yeah,
and the relationships?
yeah.
Okay.
I found excuses. I was working on my home, working on projects to remodel my home, and so I found excuses to not go to church. Like, hey, I've got to get this done. I'm a full-time working mom, and I'm like, this is the time that I have to get things done. And so, like, I will say, like, I played a part in the loss of those relationships, but I did also feel really abandoned when I was going through something so hard, and kind of like trying to figure all of that out. I do feel like I didn't make the choice that people agreed with or could rationalize or understand. And therefore it's easier to just not show up. They don't know how to show up, which I totally understand. I understand. Like, how do you walk someone through that? Like, especially when you know that person as a couple. How do you see that person now as being single, right? And how do you show up for them? And so, oftentimes I think it was easiest to just not show up at all. And that's what I experienced.
Yeah, I mean, you said something that I think is really important to kind of rest on a little bit, is that you made a decision that a lot of people didn't agree with. And I think obviously in relationships, that's gonna happen. All the time.
Yeah.
People are going to make decisions that you don't agree with. And what do you think you needed during that time, when you obviously were making a really tough choice? It's not like it was something that you were like, this is easy. What do you think you needed from the people in your life?
I didn't need people to tell me that I'm right. What I needed is for people to simply be present and to let me know that they love me in the midst of.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I may not agree with you, but I love you. I think the most beautiful relationships are the ones where you don't always agree all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if it's easy all of the time, like, that's just a very surface level relationship.
There you
for
go.
me. Like,
yeah.
I'm the kind of person that, like, if you think that I'm wrong, like, I have open ears. Like, I may not agree with you, and I may not make the choice that you think that I should, but I will always hear you out. Like, I will not, I am not easy to offend. Like, I hold space for, like, I think it's beautiful when you feel like you can tell me, Jessica, get your stuff together. You are being ratchet. Like, you've been there. You've had those conversations with me.
I love you. No, I love that. I think, to me, that's what love looks like, is showing up. And then also there is a time for everything, right? And I think that there's a time to sit with you, hear your story, and understand. And then there's also a time when, if someone that you love is putting themselves in situations that aren't helpful, to lovingly call them out, and call them not only out, but also up, right? And I think that we have a good working relationship to where, I'm coming from a place of absolute love, especially given that, you didn't have a lot of other people that stayed around after that really tough time. And so, but it was never coming from a place of like judgment. It was, this is what I wish I had when I was going through something like that, right? Because and I can understand that. I've gone through tough seasons myself recently as well. And there were people that just chose nothing. They chose silence. They chose self-protection. They chose, I can't deal with this, right? And like, what I would have needed in those moments is, hey, like, here's what I can do, or here's what I can't do, or here's how I'm feeling based on what you told me. When someone doesn't give you that feedback, it's a really difficult place to be. And so for me, relationship is about keeping the lines of communication open, because you matter to me, right? And if there's something that I'm not getting, I'm gonna ask more questions first, right? Because I don't ever want to just assign meaning to what you're telling me and just run with that.
Yeah, I think you said something that's so important, which is like, and really something else that I needed at that time is like someone who really care to understand me. You know, like
Yeah.
one of the things that I was told is like, I just don't understand what brought you to the decision that you made.
Yeah.
And so it's like you could choose to stay in that place
Mm-hmm.
and choose to not understand, or you could seek to understand me.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the most beautiful expressions of love is like, I love you so much that I want to know the core of who you are.
Yeah.
Like who you are is important to me, because from that place, I know how to love you well. You know, like to me, there's nothing, no expression of love that's more beautiful than that.
I love that. I love that so much. And the sad thing is, you know, your experience is not, it's not new, it's not foreign, unfortunately, in the church.
So I'm not unique.
You are not, unfortunately. So sorry to say. But no, I mean, unfortunately, a lot of people in the church have no clue how to show up for people when they're going through really hard things. The truth is, people can only meet people as deeply as they've met themselves. And a lot of times, like when people's going through something that's so hard and so painful, they either go into a place of trying to fix it, because really what I'm saying is, I'm so uncomfortable right now with this that I just want to fix it. Are we done? Shut down. Yeah, right. I can't deal with that, right? And that is so hurtful to this person, right? Because I don't need you to fix it. I just simply want you to look at me and be like, it sounds really hard. I'm so sorry you're going through that. What do you need from me right now? How can I love you better right now? Right? And people don't know how to do that because their body's dysregulated in that, and it makes this person now feel like, oh my gosh, like I'm not enough, I'm not lovable, I did something wrong or bad, right? And nobody wants to feel that way, right? You're already having to make a really hard choice, and that alone is a huge loss that you're trying to navigate. And then on top of that, the people that you thought were your people are like, we don't know what to like, not even saying that, they're just saying nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, people either they do that, they try to hurry up and fix it, or they pull away and they say nothing. They just kind of go the other way because this is too hard. Relationships are not going to be easy. They're not going to be easy, and it's a give and take. Sometimes you got it and I don't. Sometimes I got it and you don't, right? And that's kind of where we have to continually lean on each other. But also a big part of it is you really see who your people are when you go through really hard seasons like that. Really, really hard seasons. And unfortunately, you also start to see people who really only liked the unhealed version of you, the shrunken version of you, the version of you that, you know, either kind of abandoned yourself so that you could be all that they needed you to be. But then the minute that you are making a choice for you, you are finding your voice, they don't know what to do with all of that.
Yeah.
This is really inconvenient for me.
Yeah. It's an interesting place to be in, because like there's almost like this, you want to fight for justice for yourself, but you also want to meet people with understanding, right? So it's like this back and forth tug of war that I have in my head constantly. Like, I also want to seek to understand them.
Yeah.
Why did you make the decision that you made to exit my life when I needed you the most? You know? And so it's like, you know, really, like I try to understand.
Yeah.
Like, but also like not make excuses.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a very interesting.
Right. I mean, I think it is a beautiful place to be, right? I think especially though the problem, and here's what I will say, sometimes when people are also going through their own grief, they don't have that awareness of something else going on in the other person's life.
Yeah.
Right? And so sometimes when people are in that space, it is hard to get through to them, right? Because it's like they are just in their own place. They're having their own trauma, like, you know, kind of tornado. They are, whatever it is, they're in survival mode, right? They may not have capacity, right? That is a big thing. They may be flooded. And so that's a big part of it as well. And so part of it, I think, is even in the midst of you going through it, still being able to communicate that I know that I put a lot on you. I know that maybe I did not approach you very well, or that, whatever it is, right? I know I was highly emotional. And I want to give you the opportunity to tell me, or to come back and let me know if you need anything from me in this place as well. As I realize that where I'm at or what I'm going through is hard for you too. I'm not immune to the fact that what I'm going through is probably also affecting you.
Right.
And sometimes people don't want to have that conversation. They would rather not. And so it is hard, but at the same time, people also get to make their own choices. And so that's the part of loving people and relationships is, you know, kind of Mel Robbins has her whole entire theory of just let them, you know, you have to, sometimes God will allow your life to just blow up to just really see how people choose to handle those moments. And it's not good or bad, it just simply is. It is simply information. And so, yeah, but it is painful, and I hate that happens. I wish that more people, especially in the church, knew how to love people when they're going through really, really hard seasons, because it's not a matter of if you go through a heartbreak or you know, something. It's a matter of when. Whether it's a loss of a family member, you know, just a huge life transition, an illness, a job loss, you know, a divorce, miscarriage, whatever, right? Like those are earth-shattering moments in life, and you need people that are going to want to simply seek to understand, how do I show up for you right now? Because it's not about me. It's not about what I got going on. Like I'm here to love you. Now, it's not that you're going to abandon your whole life and just simply sit and, you know, be codependent and give all the things, right? But it is going to be, you matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm going to show up.
It's also too, like, when you say it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Yeah.
But we're going to go through our own stuff too. And we have a choice to make.
Yeah.
You know, we could choose, am I going to allow this hurt to harden me? And for a season I did.
Yeah.
For a season I really did. Like I had these thoughts of like, I'm not going to, you know, I'm going to withhold. I'm going to be guarded. I am not going to easily trust. And, you know, I had come to this place, and thankfully I didn't reside there very long.
Yep.
I did come to this recognition of, you know, I'm not going to change who I am because of the decision that somebody made.
Yeah.
You know, like for me to do this would be completely inauthentic to who I am.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we have a choice to make. Like we can allow that whatever we're going through to help us understand, you know, like God will use anything, any part of our story for his glory. And so like we have a choice on, you know, am I going to allow God to use that part of my story? Because someone else eventually is going to go through something. It may not be exactly the same, but it's going to be just as traumatic to them.
Right. And
how can I show up for them in the way that I wish that people have showed up for me?
So good. That is so good. Absolutely. I think that is, I feel like God allows us to go through that pain so that we can use it for purpose in other people's lives. And that may we never be just so disconnected from our pain that we forget what it was like to be in those places, or to be, you know, forgotten or forsaken or isolated or excommunicated or whatever it was, you know, what would I have needed in that space? One of the things we talked about today in Bible study was, one of the things I see sometimes with people who are newer believers, you know, 3 months in, you know, and they're just on fire for the Lord, which we love. We love that, you know. And, you know, all of a sudden they're now like wanting to go and save all their friends who are still in the club and partying and what have you. And they're just like so judgy of these friends that they were 3 months ago. You were just in the club with them 3 months ago, and they forget that. And so now what ends up happening is you become holier than thou, self-righteous, so disconnected. And that, I think, is also what gives Christians a bad rap, is going to Judge Judy. And I definitely have my moments. I 100% have my moments when my tolerance is low and I feel like I've been pouring, and I just have not filled my, you know, have not spent time to fill my own cup. So I'm not saying this is you, this is me, this is us, you know, it's an us problem. And, but yeah, we get into this place and we just forget what it was like when we were wretched sinners, and still are, even in the midst of being saved, even in the midst of following Christ. You were a believer and that happened, right? Like, and so I think that God allows us to go through those moments to humble us, but also to remind us of our humanity and our need for Him.
Yeah.
Not so much to where it is a dependence on humans, though, either, because there are some places that really only God can meet us in those seasons of absolute wilderness, in those seasons of like just complete and utter heartbreak, because you may need just so much love, and some people may have that much to give, and they're like, this is everything I have, right? And they may feel like I gave you everything, you're like, I have this much that I need right now, right? And so realizing that it's a both-ended situation, where you're allowed to have requirements on what you need in relationships, but then also managing expectations of how people can show up, or and things like that.
I think it's interesting balance too, because like, there's a saying that says we live in a world of hurting people, and hurting people hurt people.
That's right.
And church people are not exempt from that. So there's like this level of understanding, I think, that that we need to have with people in the church, and in the fact of we're all in process. We haven't arrived, and we're gonna make mistakes. We're gonna hurt people. It's just a part of doing life together. The risk that you take when you choose to do life together.
That's right.
So it's like meeting that understanding, but also at the same time, God has called us higher.
That part.
Like, the scripture of we are to be in the world, but not of the world. And I feel like so much of that focus, especially in the church, is like for morality, like sinning and making immoral choices. But no, like, what else can that look like, right? Like, if I'm going to be in the world says to judge people because they believe something that I don't believe. We are at odds with one another in our belief systems. And so therefore I'm going to judge you or see you as less than. And God has called us to do different and to be different than that. So it's like this balance of like understanding that we're all still innately human, but also how can I do things in a way that reflects the heart of God?
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. I think the hardest part too about life and relationships is that you have people, two people that have needs that exist at the exact same time, and how those can often collide, right? You may have needed closeness and reassurance, while the other person may have needed just some distance and some space to process, and how those needs are just conflicting right now. Doesn't mean that you were wrong or bad, or they were wrong or bad. The way, though, to keep the relationship intact is communication, right? It's this person to say, hey, friend, I want you to know I still love you. You still matter to me. And I will reach out when. And then you do, and you follow up. You do follow through. You don't just completely walk away. You do come back to the relationship. And that part of abandoning, right, is huge, especially when you already are feeling like you've made a bad choice, when you already are beating yourself up about it. Having someone remind you of like, you are still lovable, you are still worthy. You had made a mistake that, or a choice that I don't always understand, but I know that God is bigger than that. I know that God
You're
is
talking about us right now.
with your story. What do you mean?
We actually had a situation like that where I feel like that's exactly what happened. Like there was, I was going through this season like earlier in the year, this year, where, I was so afraid of being, like, I'm really rebuilding my life, rebuilding connections, building new ones, and I'm so afraid of abandonment, and I'm so afraid of being rejected again, that I try to become all things to all people. I'm like, oh, you need me to show up for you in this way? Got it. Oh, you're gonna accept me if I do this? I'll do it. And I was compromising myself, and I got to a place where I realized that I had no standards at all. And so you walked me through those really dark places in my life, and you remained a constant. But that doesn't mean that there shouldn't be boundaries. There was a time where you were like, hey, like, I just need some space, and that's okay. Like if you need a moment because you don't feel like you can show up in the best way for that person, and you need to take a step back, like you said, communicating. But the most important thing is following up.
Yeah.
Following through.
Yeah.
With that, like, hey, I'm not leaving you.
Yeah.
I'm not abandoning you.
Yeah.
I just need a moment.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you. I actually wasn't thinking about us in that moment, but yeah, you matter to me, right? And so it's like, I love you, and that's it. I love you, period, right? And I may not like the choices that you make at times, and you may not like the choices that I make. That is not a prerequisite to loving someone. You think about your kids make choices that you don't like all the time. Like, why did you do that? But you're not gonna remove your love from them, right?
Right.
And so, because we don't have the right to withhold love from people, we are called to love, period.
Yeah.
How we love people will look different depending on the level of connectedness, the level of safety, the level of just communication. And I also don't think that love is based on proximity. It's based on effort. Yeah. I think a lot of people think, well, you're out of sight, out of mind. And I think that's a big thing with church culture. You don't go here anymore, so we don't worry about you. We're not reaching out. You don't get the invite, whatever, because you're not proximity. No, there's a lot of people who have proximity, but zero intimacy, zero connectedness.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of time with certain people, and like, I got that much information about you.
Right.
No intimacy, right?
And or the other side of that is you have so much proximity that you get to see the not so great sides of it. You know, we all have our own stuff that we're dealing with. And so like you get a glimpse into like some of the really hard parts of like, some of the struggles you could say, about someone, and we're like, I don't know, I don't want to deal with that. Like, I like you overall, but that,
Yeah. I think unfortunately in our culture now, people's tolerance for loving and just like really showing up for people is at an all-time low. And it's like any little bit of inconvenience, any little bit of, feedback is seen as criticism. And it's like, no, I'm telling you this because I love you. I'm telling you this because I want to work on this. I'm telling you this so that we can figure out where to be together. And I partly do think a big reason why, I do think a lot of it has to do with social media, where people want access, but they don't want accountability.
Yeah. People
want the idea of proximity, but they don't want intimacy. They don't want to have to give back into the relationship to build it, right? And that's hard. I mean, you see people who choose to not be in your life, but they want to consume it. They want to watch it. And I think that that's hurtful. I mean, I've seen that over the years with even people in just different church communities and things that I've been a part of. And that does happen, where they would just rather watch you and just, nope, not gonna, and it's kind of like interesting, because a phone call would be great, right?
Right. Yeah.
Meeting up for coffee would be great, but I think, again, at the end of the day, realizing that your people are going to want to show up for you. And it's not even going to be hard. It's going to be a heaven yes. You matter to me. I trust you. I love you. I know your heart. I want to show up. And even if it's inconvenient, because relationships are not convenient. They are not. That means I'm going to have to walk with you through some junk. You're going to walk through me through some junk, right? And not that we're going to rub up against each other. But the beautiful thing is we also are always walking in the same direction and pointing each other up, right?
The other interesting thing about social media, right, is when you think about the things that you put out onto social media, a lot of it is like the best version of me, like the good stuff, right? And
not me, but anyway. I try to be like, listen, life is ratchet sometimes, and God is still good.
But the flip side of that, if you think about it, is like that's also what we're consuming. Yeah. And so we're being taught through social media that to only consume the best versions of someone. And that's not love.
Yeah.
Like there's a saying that says to be fully known is to be fully loved, or to be fully seen is to be fully known, and to be fully known is to be fully loved.
Right. Well, how scary I think it is for some people to be fully seen, and to be seen in all of it.
When I was going through my crazy, I did not want to be fully seen. I'll be honest.
Yeah. I remember that actually
Yeah.
inviting you to Bible study and just kind of even, walking through that of you. And I don't know if you're okay with me sharing a little bit about you were not ready to go to church. You were not ready to set foot in a church. I get it. I 100% understand
Oh,
that.
I attended, but I did not.
You-
I didn't
yeah.
connect.
Yeah, you didn't want.
I was like,
yes,
we're gonna leave this surface level.
100%. But you eventually, you were comfortable coming to Bible study, and little by little, you just started to open. And I think those spaces actually really do foster the ability to just know you have a place where you're held and you're seen, you're known, you're loved. Because a church has its purpose, right? There are those reasons to go for the big corporate gathering, but I think having a place where you're really truly like held and known and seen can make some of those big moments where you don't maybe need that as much when you go to a big church community where you're like, all right, cool, in and out. Although not my favorite way to do church, but that's okay. There is a purpose for that. Sometimes you do get to connect on a deeper level. Sometimes you don't. Everybody has their own reasons for why they're going. But I think what helps a lot is the discipleship piece of it, which is what I think Bible study really helps with.
I mean, I'll share from my own experience. I feel like the Bible study was very pivotal for me because outside of Bible study, the only person that I had in my life that really truly seen me and continued to love me was you. And so it's like I had this truth that I adopted that if these people knew where I'm at in this stage of my life right now, the decisions that I'm making in this stage of my life right now, they will be just like everyone else. And they will walk away and they will abandon me. And I made this choice, and I really believe that it was the prompting of the Holy Spirit. Like, just share. I was resisting so much. I mean, I feel like it was like towards the end of that Bible study session where I finally shared, because it's like I couldn't contain it anymore. I'm like, at first I'm like arguing with God, no, we're not gonna do this, we're not gonna do this, I'm not ready. And finally I did, and I feel like that was like a really pivotal moment for me that kind of, I've talked to you before about how I feel like I really pendulum swung hard. Where, I'm in church and, all of this stuff, and then I swing to this other side in such a dramatic way. And
that's a very common trauma response though. Very common.
Again, I'm not unique. Okay.
just normalizing it, right? When you can have language to what you're going through, you don't feel so crazy
and alone. But I do really feel like that was a really pivotal moment that kind of grounded me and brought me back centered.
Totally.
I don't want to go all the way back over here. Definitely don't want to be over here. But I want to be somewhere centered.
And I think that, again, like, people have to go through their own journey and their own process, but I don't think people need to do it alone. The enemy, for sure, ultimately, he wants to isolate us. And so when you're isolated, you are left to your own devices and things like that. And I just feel like, people need the most love when they're the most unlovable. And so
they need to love themselves too, because that's the thing too, is like you think, like in that moment for me, I was like, I don't even love me. So how can I expect someone else to?
Well, and that's the thing though, when you talk about that though, that's the beauty of relationship. That's the beauty of like having someone who is a secure attachment. That's what therapy can do. That's what good friends can do. That's what God can do, especially is looking at you and saying, I love you. You can do better, right? And it's okay. And until you do, I'm still here. I love you. That's what you would do with your kids, right? You're not like, clean yourself up and then I'll love you, right? Get it together and then I'll love you. I love you. I love you. And you're a crazy little mess. You know what I mean?
Let's clean it up.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let you sit here for a little minute and then we're gonna clean up. But I also think the reason I think I was telling you and Chris this last night, but I don't love in that way. This is not how I was taught to love by my family. My family is very much like conditional love. It's I will love you if, or I'll love you when. It wasn't just I love you, right? I think also part of loving people though is boundaries. You can't just be like, I love you and life is a highway and do whatever you want, right? Like you got to lovingly guide them. And you've done that with me as well, you know, like my prickly areas and things like that like I struggle with, where you're able to ask me questions and like, and I'm like, it's a really good question. Um, um, but I learned how to love really well through my friendships. And God has been so faithful in the people that He's brought throughout my life. And so when I have this standard of when I say I want to be your friend, I mean that. I will show up. I will fight for you. I will pray for you. I will, you know, that's the type of thing, because the way that I've had friends show up for me in my life. Last night I was sharing about one of my friends. We've known each other since we were 13, and I moved from Vegas to Minnesota, and I grew up moving around every 6 months. So I never had long-term friendships because we were always moving around. But this one particular friend, we became friends, and I was like 13 in choir. And then when I moved to Minnesota, she still made time to talk to me. Her and my friend group, we would like do Skype, we would have like phone calls. I still felt connected to my friends. She was my best friend and like sister. And you know, she was always there. And then when I would go back to Vegas from Minnesota, when I was in college, I stayed with her because I couldn't stay with my mom. My mom was so unstable. She was moving here, there, everywhere. And I stayed with her and her mom. They literally were my family. And then when I was in grad school and I lived with you and her, I didn't have a car. She would wake up every morning at 6 a.m. and drive me to work. Even if she went to bed at 4 a.m., she would drive me to work. That friend, she actually really challenged me a lot in relationships, because I did not understand her devotion to friends and relationships at that time, because I was very much like, I cut people off. That's how I was taught to love. And I actually also justified it because I was like, well, I'm an Aquarius, so which, you know, don't identify with your zodiac sign as Christians, because that is not who God's called you to be. But I would justify it, and like when people would like upset me or whatever, I just cut them off. All right, cool, next, moving on. And she would just say, you know, Gabby, it's not normal to like cut people off. And I just didn't understand why she was wrestling so hard with these relationships. They sound like a pain in the butt. Just cut them off. Like, what? Why are you working so hard? Like, you know? Mm-hmm. And now it's funny because years later, since I've healed, I see exactly why, you know, she did that. She was loving unconditionally. She actually cared. She cared a lot. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, like that was so beautiful. So to think back, we're not friends anymore. That was the hardest heartbreak of my life. She was the hardest heartbreak. Because we were best friends from 13 to like mid 20s. But we also grew apart, you know, and that was so hard for me. But she also laid the foundation of what a friend looks like. And I had another friend who, I told this last night as well, I needed a car. I was driving a 2002 Mercury Sable with no air conditioning when I was in grad school, and I was in Vegas, and I'm driving around with ice packs all over me. I would show up to see my clients. I'm sweating from the front to the back, but I would show up and I would sit with my clients, and I needed a car. But at the time in grad school, was not making much money at all, and I was going to go look for a new car and things like that. I had a couple family members that went, and they're like, can you co-sign for her? And they're like, oh, no, I can't, I'm doing this, or no, I can't, I'm doing that. I had a friend, one of my best friends at the time, her and her boyfriend went with me, and they said, you're gonna get a car for $10,000 out the door. And I'm like, okay. And I don't, you know, when I went to go look prior, the payments were just astronomical, and I'm in grad school, and I had all these hours that I had to do to see clients, and I'm not making much money, and I'm working part-time. So like the idea of even taking on a car payment scared me. And this friend, and her boyfriend tell me $10,000 out the door, that's what you're going to get. I'm like, okay, I still don't know how this is going to happen. We find a car. It's a 2014 Hyundai Elantra. And they tell us, okay, this is the car. And I'm like, okay, $10,000 out the door. And they go, okay, great. They start drawing up the contract, and they tell me how much the car is going to be and the interest rate. And, you know, okay, well, you know, you don't make a whole lot of money. Is there anybody that can co-sign? My friend literally goes, I'll co-sign. And I was like, what? And her boyfriend's not even batting an eye. They literally sat there and they talked about it. And I'm looking at her like, friend, like, you don't have to co-sign on my car. And she was like, Gabby, She's like, my family would do this for me, and I know your family won't. So she was like, I will do this for you because I know that you are going to make the payments on this car. And I also know that if you can't, you are going to call me and you are going to tell me if you need help making a payment. And I just remember that is what a secure attachment does, is I love you and I trust you and I believe in you even when you can't. And you believe I literally never missed a payment, except for there was one specific time, and this was during COVID. But other than that, never missed a payment. It was her belief in me that actually helped me go, yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's what like secure attachment and real healthy relationship looks like, is you love me even when I can't. You see the best in me even when I am in my mess.
Yeah. I think an interesting thing about that is that like she didn't just believe in you.
Yeah.
It's like she saw a part of you that you didn't see yourself.
Yeah.
And like I think that that's so such a beautiful thing, because it helps you come back to yourself.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot that about myself.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm a hard worker.
Yeah.
I get things done.
That's right.
I make a way when there seems to be no way.
That's right.
Like, I forgot that about myself. Thank you for reminding me of who I am.
Yeah. Actually, I don't even know if I really believe that about myself because of how my family was with me. Oh no, I can't take a risk on you. And again, I'm not saying you gotta go and sign co-sign on cars for your friends. Like that is a
exercise wisdom.
Yes. She made a really great investment, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But like I feel like that is what loving people looks like, and taking those moments of, listen, this is just a simple blip in your story. I know God's got something way bigger and better for you. I am not even letting this cloud my vision of you. This is a simple moment, right? Yeah. And choosing to still hold their hand and say, let's keep walking.
Yeah.
Let's keep walking down the street. Let's see what happens over, around this corner.
I think what's really beautiful in relationships in general, friendships, relationships, is like there's a healing that happens based on your experience, right? And so when I think about the stories that you're sharing, it's like they're showing you what you actually can have. Yeah. Right? That we were talking about this the other day. Like, your expectations aren't really too high.
Girl.
Like, they're showing you like this, like it's almost like this is the floor.
That part. We talked about that.
Yes.
Eventually, yes. You start to realize I'm actually not, for one, what I am asking for, I can also provide.
Yes. And
I'm not crazy because I've actually had better.
Right.
Like, I've had way better. And I think that that's a really good reminder of, you going in and you going like, I know what like good relationships feel like, not just look like, because that is social media. I know what my body feels like when I feel held, when I feel seen, where I feel adored, where I feel accepted and embraced, and just simply love for being, not for doing, not for what I can provide, not for when I'm easy, but simply just you are loved, and that is it.
And that's one of the things that I had to learn through this process. It's like I had to come to this place where I'm like, your not acceptance of me because of a choice, it's not on me. Like, it's so easy for me to try to own something that's not mine to own. Yeah. Right? Like that is, it's not because of me. Yeah. You didn't have the capacity to show up in the way that I needed you at the time.
100%.
And you know what? And I'm not saying that that's like they're a bad person. Like, they probably had their own stuff that they were going through too. Just because you don't have the capacity to show up doesn't mean that you're a bad person. It just means that you're not who I need in this moment, and that's okay. You're not a safe place for me at this moment, and that's okay too.
And you can still love them. Yeah. Right? You can absolutely still love them. It's funny, last night we were playing the game and it was like, who are 3 people that you would tell off? I'm like, Trump, maybe, because I guess I'm not a professional anymore, and, P. Diddy and R. Kelly, but it's like other people, I think too, when you've been through stuff, you have a level of emotional intelligence, you have also just a deeper way of still loving and showing up, but also really kind of kind of giving that grace, like to just go, look, I understand that you are at cap, you are capped. I'm still hurting, but I understand that you're capped, and I still love you no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think too, I mean, if anything out of this whole conversation is, if you think about maybe there was someone in your life that was going through something really hard, and you realize like, man, I really did just kind of walk out of their life, or I did kind of just pull back. The invitation is to own it, go back. I will say this, because I don't do it perfectly either. I've also had people when they've gone through really hard seasons, sometimes when people are going through really hard seasons, it's like there's nothing that you could say or do that could actually soothe them either. And so it's not a matter of me not loving or me not wanting to show up. Sometimes it really is that people are in their own space, and it's like there's nothing that you could do to support. And sometimes, you do have to step back. And I've had quite a few people who I love dearly that, they went through some really tough stuff, and I beat myself up by not being able to do or be what they needed me to be. But at the same time, I also had to realize that my growth journey was also not on the same page as where theirs was, right? And so I still love them no matter what, but I also found myself doing a lot of emotional labor that they weren't doing. They were withholding, they were withdrawing, they were stonewalling, they were, not communicating. I can't do a relationship like that, And so then I just had to go, all right, and I still love you. I love you like crazy.
I want the best for you.
I will always want the best for you. And sometimes the best right now is for me to go focus on me, and I think that, another beautiful thing to think about with relationships is it doesn't necessarily always mean that relationships are ending. Don't put a period where God might be putting a comma.
Ooh, I love that.
But sometimes relationships are just kind of ebbing and flowing. Maybe in this season, this is just a comma. I still love you. I promise you I love you. But, we might have to go our separate ways for a little bit, and maybe God will bring us back together, in his time, but I think personally, I beat myself up when I can't love perfectly. And that's just an impossible standard. It's such an impossible standard. One, I'm not God. And two, that's not my only job to love every single person perfectly, But what does your dad say? He says not perfectly,
but increasingly.
Yeah.
I
love that.
I think it's just a really great reminder that we will never arrive. It's a journey.
Yeah.
And it's a journey that you get to do together. And to your point, there's a season for everything.
Absolutely.
We talked about this, like sometimes there's a season to deepen your relationship. Sometimes you're in a season to expand and move on to other relationships as well. I think both are very beneficial. I think both are needed.
That's right.
And you were sharing the story about like your friend and how like you're on two different paths now, but I think the important thing about having hope for the future of maybe one day your roads will merge together again is to make sure that you're not holding on to any resentment. Because it's so easy to get resentful for the things that people did or didn't do, or they didn't show up for you the way that you expected. But hey, like also understanding I'm not perfect, and I'm sure that in my need or knee-jerk reaction to protect myself, I pushed other relationships away where they actually didn't say anything. Like they kind of like there was a lack of communication, so like there wasn't really an effort on either side, but like I could have made effort and I chose not to as a means. So like I also probably failed them, and I probably did not show up in the best way to love them because I was fearful. Like if we just don't communicate, if we don't talk, then you really didn't abandon me.
That's the avoidant. That's the avoidant. If I don't actually show up, if I don't actually risk, if I don't actually give intimacy, then I didn't really lose anything, right? And that's again, perfect love casts out all fear. It's really hard to love people when there's fear in the mix, and I've just had to learn that, right? It's like, you have to love with no conditions, give what you can afford to not get back, and let the chips fall where they may. You gotta let them, and love them and let them at the same time. And yeah, nobody does it perfectly. There's just not going to be a perfect formula. What works for one person may not work for another person. It's funny because, again, kind of going back to the friend I was telling you about, when we all lived together, when I was in grad school, the last thing on my mind was like building friendships. Like, I was connected to the people I was doing grad school with. And so they got a lot of my best time, my best energy. Those connections were deepening because we were going through very similar things, maybe a little bit of trauma bonding, maybe. But, there's something to be said about people who are kind of in similar spaces and in situations that you're going through. But I didn't want to kind of get closer to or deepen the relationships that were around me at the time. And I was not probably the funnest person to be around when I look back, because I have to think about my motive as well. I was driven by, I need to get a career. I need to get I need to make money because I don't have family to fall back on. I was in survival mode. Yes, I was driven, but I was in survival mode. Sitting with a friend and connecting was not exactly on my radar. I literally was not the most, again, people in grad school got to see that version of me because we're doing stuff together. Like, that was where my time was. But like with, the friends that, were around all the time, but also they were also like in church and they were doing all that stuff. And I was just like, I'll see you guys when I go. Like, I'm not going to all 3 services on Sunday. But yeah, my priorities were just different, And now I would say my biggest focus is my relationships. And so, but again, everybody has those different seasons that they're going through. Sometimes when people are focusing on the family, that is where their focus goes. And so I think finding people where you're in alignment with is really important, because you might be placing a higher priority on that when someone else is saying that's like at the bottom of the totem pole right now. I don't have time for myself, let alone connecting with someone else.
Yeah. I think also the really beautiful thing is, I think there are going to be people that God puts into our lives that aren't exactly like us, because it's going to stretch us, it's going to grow us. It's the easy path is to surround ourselves with only the people that mirror us, the people that believe the same exact things that we believe, and that it's good to have those people in your life. The Bible talks about being equally yoked, and that's important. But I do also feel like, sometimes God puts people into our path that is going to grow us in love, our capacity to love. If we only surround ourselves with the people that think like us, believe like us, we're not stretching
at all.
It's like choosing to still love the person who is maybe we're not naturally inclined, or it's not our natural inclination to be the way that they are. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does make sense, absolutely. A lot of times people will surround themselves with people that make them feel comfortable. Like, that's human nature, where it's like, oh, you like me, right? Again, people want to be around people who they feel like them. That's a normal human thing and desire. But I love being around people who think differently than me. Like, that to me, I'm like, ooh, tell me more. I love that. That is I love people who don't fit the mold. I love people who are not, I said this earlier, like crunchy Christians, like cream puff Christians, where they're like, oh, Jesus is so great. I love people who have been through hell and back. And I'm just like, wow, you are like not anything of what they say a Christian should be. Like, you just have all these like totally like things that just don't like make sense in like Christian worldview, but yet like your story is nothing but a God story, I love that. I am all about being around people that just are so different than me, because I love to see God's handprint in all of it, know. But there are people that will, the minute that someone challenges them or looks different or doesn't fit what they're used to, it freaks them out.
My dad always would say, there's when my siblings and I would fight and disagree and be, when there was a fight, my dad, or if we were in trouble, my dad would sit us all down and give us each the floor to tell our side of the story. My dad always used to say there's 3 sides to every story. There's your side, my side, and then there's the truth. There's the truth, which is the facts of what happened. My side is my interpretation of those facts. Right. Your side is your interpretation of those facts.
That's right.
And our interpretation is based off of how we were raised, our belief systems, our surroundings. You know, all of that creates how we see the world and how we see other people. You know, and so it's growing and stretching when we allow other people into our space and into our lives that had a different upbringing, that see things a little bit differently, because up until this point what we believe is how we interpret the truth. It doesn't mean it's the truth. It's how we see it.
That's right. Pastor Paul would always say, you don't live with the truth, you live with your interpretation of it. And I really truly always want to seek to understand that. That is my hope, because I would rather be connected than right. I don't need to be right. I'm not over here trying to prove a point. I'm not trying to be right. I'm trying to be connected. Come back to the relationship so we could talk this out, right? And a lot of people, nope, I'm done. I'm just, this is it. And again, I know, I used to be that. I didn't have the capacity to sit up here and like try to figure out where you're coming from. You already stressed me out, right? And it's just one of those things where it's just like, it's okay, everybody gets to decide. But I think a level of maturity is realizing that real relationships are going to have friction, and the only relationships that actually stand are the ones that know how to rupture and repair, rupture and repair, rupture and repair. And the relationships where there's no repair made are the ones that tend to fade and fizzle.
There's this TED Talk, and I can't even say who it was because I don't remember, it was so long ago, but it says intentional conversation happens when you go into the conversation with the intention to understand and not the intention to be right. And I think some people will see, like, to them being right means being seen. And it's like, it's just like understanding that you're being seen, but you're probably not being seen the way that you want to right now because you care way more about being right.
Totally. No, I agree with that. And it's like, but at that point though, what you're really wanting is respect. You're actually wanting respect. If I want to be seen as right, I want respect right now. And you know, sometimes, you know, even when I work with my clients, it's funny because I'll say things where I'm like, hey, I'm going to try something, and you can accept it, you can reject it, or you can correct it, but I want to know if I'm getting this right. And I'll say it, and they go, Gabby, you're right. And I'm like, I don't have to be right. That's not my goal. My goal here is never to be right. I just want to understand, make sure that I'm getting what it is that you're trying to tell me. And giving them permission to correct it. I love being corrected by my clients, by my friends, by anybody, because that's how we do relationship. Is that you can't grow if people just go, all right, if that's the way you think, I'm out. Like, you know, or if they go, you know, they collect information, but then they choose to just go the other way and never say anything. Like, hey, what did you walk away with? I don't know where you're at with that. You know what I mean? Like, it's one of those things where you got to keep coming back and going, hey, you said something that made me uncomfortable, or you did something that made me uncomfortable. And then it's like, thank you for telling me that. I love that you felt safe enough to tell me that, because I care about you and I would never want to do anything that intentionally makes you uncomfortable. So what do you need me to do in this relationship so that you feel more safe?
You said something in the Bible study today that was really beautiful about, it's when you're, and please you say this because I think that you said it way more eloquently than how I'm going to try to say it, but it's like your focus is not leading, it's fostering.
I was saying that in this season of my life. I think, for example, leadership, right? We often think leadership is, I'm up here, I have all the answers, I'm the person you come to for all the answers, and you know, I've just arrived. And unfortunately in my life I've been put in leadership positions a lot, whether because of what I do for work or just whatever it is. Parentified child, so very much just have always been kind of wise to bring out my years. Leader in the friend group a lot, you know, it's just that. And so sometimes I also think as Black women, we like kind of have to do a lot of emotional heavy lifting because people just assume we've got it. And it's like, it's not I'm strong because I want to, it's strong because I have to be. And so, not always places for me to really just fall apart, because like people have looked at me for so long of like, well, if you don't have it, then what does that mean for me? And so
And
it's a
what
lot.
kind of pressure?
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, I've had to be very intentional now of like finding people that let me be a human and don't expect me to always have it. But anyway, leadership again is often like, oh, I'm a leader, I've got it, come to me, I've got the answers. But in this season of my life, it's been so amazing because I've learned how it's not so much about being the leader, it's about actually doing the witness with others, and it's actually sharing my own personal experience and also hearing other people's experience. So it's the witness. So instead of thinking I'm leading, I'm actually facilitating community. I'm facilitating that. And people learn more from like your humanity, and they learn more from like, hey, I messed up too, or hey, same, right? That is how people actually really grow, because it's iron sharpening iron. But it's not about I have arrived and I'm never going to tell my stuff and I'm going to keep all of my secrets to myself, because at the end of the day, like, our life is not our own. Our time is not our own, and it's all meant to be given away for the glory of God, which means if I can share my experiences, if I can share my hardships, if I can share my heartbreaks, and that it blesses you and that it brings you closer, it builds your faith, then that was hurt worth having.
And you're leading in a different way. You're leading by example, right?
So
and
good. So good.
Like, you're giving them permission to show up authentically.
Yeah.
And authentically may mean that, I don't have it together all the time.
That's right.
And it's something that's so easy, that happens in church all the time, right? It's like, again, going back to we live in a world of hurting people, and hurting people hurt people. The difference is, like, there's hurting people in the church too.
Yeah.
And the difference is that it's being covered by shame, blame, guilt, where people don't feel like they can show up authentically.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're going to be judged,
Yeah.
right? And so, you go to church and you're like, how you doing today?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm blessed and highly favored. No, like,
yeah.
How are you really doing?
Yeah.
Like, let's really do life together. Like,
yeah.
I want to see you completely, the good, the bad, the indifferent. Like, let me see it all, because I want to walk you through. Like, I want to walk through it with you.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you nailed it on the head. That's what a lot of people struggle with in church dynamics. I've experienced it myself, where it's really tough. I've walked out of church spaces quite a few times, because it's like, it's really, you want the real, right?
Yeah.
You want the real, not just the performance, not just the, I want to know, like, people are hurting in the church, right? We're all hurting. And what's going to help us heal is by not, and it shouldn't always be like, it's like you're trauma bonding and it's negative and it's heavy. Again, sometimes you don't have it and I do. And it's that back and forthness, but it's the genuineness of someone actually really wanting to know and giving someone your undivided attention and following through because you mean it. Right. Not the superficial, hey, we should get coffee sometime, and the invite never comes. Or this is one of the things that would drive me crazy, but it's like, you're talking to someone and you're trying to have a conversation, and as you're talking, they're like, hey, how's it going? Did that interaction change that person's life?
I've probably done that a time or two.
Did that interaction change that person's life though? Because if that's more important, go talk to them, right? It's so hurtful because you feel dismissed, or nobody likes to feel like you're a burden or you're inconveniencing somebody, right? Because it's hard to say, I'm not okay right now.
Yeah.
I'm not okay, and I need some reassurance, or I need some love right now. And for someone to just, downplay it, or I can't, it's too much, that is extremely dismissive.
You know what one of my biggest pet peeves is when people, like, I hate for anyone to feel obligated.
Oh, it's the worst.
Like, I don't want you to, like, come have a conversation with me because you feel like you're obligated to, because you hold this certain role and therefore you have to, or, it's for show or anything. Like, I want you to be in my life. I want you to have this conversation because you genuinely want to.
You want to. Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's the beauty about friendships and the chosen family. You get to choose that. I'm grateful that I have the time right now in this season of my life, because it may not always be like this. Yeah. Right? Again, I look back, there were times where I didn't. There were times where I didn't want to be around people. There were times where my love tank was not full. And, but I'm grateful for the time and the people that God's put in my life right now where the relationships they feel they feel full, they feel life-giving, they're not draining. And nobody wants to feel drained, and nobody wants to feel like they are draining others. So I think that's the beautiful thing is going where your body feels relaxed, where your nervous system can relax. And you can ask for your needs, and it's not too much.
I can't remember when we were having this conversation, but I remember us talking about, and I was just reflecting, and I was like, you know what? I have the least amount of people in my life right now that I ever had, but I've never felt so held and so loved and so safe. Than in the relationships that I have right now, even though it's not as much.
And that's the beauty. Quality over quantity any day. And what I've learned in this season of my life is that I don't have capacity for a lot of superficial connections. I simply don't. Those interactions drain me more than being with people who I know are weighty in my life and they have my back. They're going to call me out. They're going to call me higher. I need those people in my life to really help me be who I need to be as just a child of God, a leader, all the things, right? When you're in those relationships where they feel obligatory or draining, or do you like me, do you not, ambivalent relationships, those are the most, they're so unsettling because it's not healthy for your nervous system. You're constantly like feeling like you're walking on eggshells. If I say one thing, I'm going to push you away. And if I do, so not healthy, right? But the relationships where you just be yourself and you just like know you love each other and it's amazing, like that's where you got to spend your time. So quality over quantity any day. And I think that what I am seeing, that is the direction of the church. That is church. Jesus, he loved everybody, called everybody friends, but he really only had, I think it was 3 people that when he had some of those really private moments where he actually only had just a few of them go with him. But he had his 12, right? So even then, in the midst of like his inner circle, there was even an inner circle that are even more. And I think it's important to try and test the people in your life so that you know who are some of your people for, a reason, a season, a lifetime. And then being able to move with those people. And again, the love is always there for every person. That's okay that you don't know what chapter of life you're meeting somebody in, right? So you keep your love on, but your boundaries firm.
I remember listening to a podcast once, and because I always used to hate any like potential conflict, right? Like I would say that I probably still do it today. There's times that I should speak up and I don't because I'm trying to keep the peace, but they said a lot of times we see boundaries as this bad thing, right? And what it really is, or like it's saying like you don't value a relationship, but it's actually saying no, I value this relationship so much that I know that this boundary is what is needed to keep this relationship safe and to keep this relationship going. 100%. Like I actually care about it so much that I'm putting this boundary in place.
That is exactly right. Boundaries don't say I love you, but boundaries say I love you and.
Ooh, I love that.
Yeah. And I think that that's the hardest part. Anytime you're in a relationship, you have to have boundaries. You have to define, what are we doing here? Are we both in this relationship together? Are we both building a friendship together?
Do
we have common goals? Are we moving in the same direction? Do you want to hear from me? Because what I need is I need to hear from you more, right? Like that's a part of building a relationship. And how do you want to be loved? What helps you feel loved? What helps you feel seen? And then this is what I need. But it's being able to both be able to build and cultivate that together. It takes both people, right? And some people don't want that. Some people don't want the responsibility, and they don't want, to have to put in that work and that effort. And, what I had saw, because I do have, these skills to build relationships and things like that, like I saw that there were certain relationships where I was abandoning myself because you learn, oh, I'm most lovable when I'm this way. I'm most lovable when I have no needs. I'm most lovable when I'm performing and putting on a smile for everybody. I'm most lovable when I don't speak up, But when I, right, but when I do speak up, I get silenced. I get, opportunities removed. I don't get the invite. Like, you start to see the punishment of what happens when you actually start having a voice and asking for what you need. But people who really love you are going to be like, thanks for telling me. Like, that really helps a lot. I love you so much. And I would love to, whatever makes you feel good, whatever makes you feel seen, or, hey, I know that this is what you need right now. Yeah. And it is conflicting with what I have got going on. So I can't do this, but I can do this. It's called a counter offer, right? Mm-hmm. Because it's like,
I work in banking, so
yes, you understand the counter offer. Yes. I'm not saying no to the deal. I'm saying let's sweeten the deal a little bit here so that we're making it a win-win, right? Yes. And when you find yourself in situations where you can't find a win-win, unfortunately, you gotta choose how you lose.
Ooh, that is so true.
Yeah, it's hard. Those situations suck. Those situations suck more than anything, and at the same time, you ultimately gain yourself back.
Yeah. It's almost like you're choosing who to grieve.
Yes.
Are you going to grieve the loss of the relationship, or are you going to grieve the loss of yourself?
That part, because you left yourself long enough.
Yeah.
Right? And so I always say to my clients, it's like, hey, you left yourself for so long in this relationship. You gotta come back home. You gotta come back home. And the more that you come back home to yourself, the people who are for you are going to recognize you, and they're going to say, gosh, like, this feels like home. Yeah. To them, because they recognize that. And so being true to yourself and who God's called you to be, even in the midst of all the hurt and the pain, that doesn't define who you are. It does shape, it does scar, like we talked earlier today about, like, Jesus still had those, the nails in his hands. He still had, the holes in his hands. We have those battle scars in our lives when we go through hurt and pain, but it does not change our value, and it doesn't change our worth. And you need people who are going to love you no matter what. And I love you no matter what.
Aw, same friend. Love you.
Well, thanks for coming on today, and
thanks for having me.
Just sharing your story, and just really truly calling people higher. My hope is that for you, for listening today, that you take some notes on how to love people better. I know nobody does it perfectly. And honestly, the Holy Spirit is the one that can really help us. I think really seeing people through his eyes, through God's eyes, right? And like you said, just the examples that we've been able to share, it's like not who I see you as and judging you in the moments of these things that you're doing that I don't like, but it's who does God say they are, and then how do I love them from that place? Yeah. So anything that you want to leave the audience with?
I would say allow God to use your story in a way that builds his kingdom. Don't forget the struggles. I think it's so easy to sweep it under the rug. And I mean, it's great to have affirmations. Yes, it's true that you are no longer who you were. But I think it's important to remember those things, because God will use you through those experiences to help walk other people through it.
Yes.
And so, don't stay in a bubble of denial. Use those experiences to learn and grow yourself, and then allow God to use those experiences to learn and help other people grow as well.
Yeah, I love it. Yes. Allow him to turn your pain into purpose, because he's not having you go through it for no reason. And so, yeah. Well, thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Hosting Heaven. If you liked it, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and I'll see you in the next episode.